Hey folks, this your boy Jay, reppin' Philly, back with another video. Philly boy Jay back in the building. And today, I'm gonna be making some pork chops. Now I did a video like this on my previous channel, which is still available by the way, PBJ Show. And I've also done pork chop recipes in the past. I showed you guys how to make smothered baked pork chops, and I showed you guys how to make smothered fried pork chops. This recipe is sort of like smothered fried pork chops, except we're not going to be coating the pork chops with flour, okay? We're going to be frying them without flour. But yeah, you're going to need 5 pork chops, and you're going to need, I'll say medium cut pork chops. They probably don't refer to them as medium cut. They usually only refer to them as thick cut or thin cut, but these are in between thick and thin. Okay, do not get thick cut pork chops for this recipe unless you're an experienced cook and you know how to get them nice and tender. All right, make sure that your pork chops are medium or thin cut. Okay, and you're going to need 5 of them, and we're going to rinse the funk off of these pork chops. I don't care what nobody say. People try to tell you that, oh, you ain't supposed to rinse meat because it'll spread bacteria. Listen, this soothes my mind, okay? Because I just can't bite meat or put meat in my mouth if I ain't rinsed it all with some salt and water first, or some salt and lemon juice, or some salt and vinegar. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna rinse these pork chops off. We're gonna remove some of the excess fat, and we're gonna get to cooking. Now we ain't gonna remove all this fat because the fat is what gives your food what? It give it flavor. And Philly boy Jay, you know, I make my food Philly style. Philly is a soulful city. We all about flavor, okay? So we ain't taking all of this fat off, but we will be taking some off, okay? So let's do that now. Because we're not deep frying these, I'm definitely going to, like, look at all that right there. Come on now, look at all that. That water is dark and dirty. And I don't want all that floating in my oil. Okay, I ain't gonna let the oil that I'm cooking my food in remove the funk. I'm gonna remove it before I put it in there, you know what I mean? So that's just my take on the cleaning of meat. But just want to rub the salt water solution up against the chops like that, and that's pretty much it. Then you're gonna take them out and season them. We're going to be using some black pepper, some paprika. I like paprika because I like the color that it gives food. So I put paprika on pretty much every meat that I cook, if you guys notice. We're going to be using some garlic powder, some onion powder, and some parsley flakes. Parsley flakes give it a nice look. It's just for decoration purposes more so, okay? And the paprika. Now, for taste, we're going to be using celery salt. I use celery salt because I like my pork chops to have that celery flavor. If you don't have celery salt, you can use adobo seasoning or salt, okay? Or even seasoning salt, all right? So you can substitute the celery salt with a lot of different seasonings. Just make sure it has salt in it, all right? Unless you can't have salt. So these are the seasonings that you're going to need. Let's move on and talk about the other ingredients we're going to be using. You're going to need some chicken broth so that our pork chops have like a nice thin gravy, and it's not going to be much gravy left over when we're done cooking the pork chops, all right? Just going to have a nice thin gravy, or like a wetness, okay, to it. You're going to need a small onion. You're going to need some margarine or butter and some cornstarch, okay? So make sure you have those ingredients. Alright guys, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to cut your onions, and you're going to slice them into thin pieces. Alright, so that's the way you want your onions to look. We're going to move on now and create our celery. Okay guys, so here is our broth, and to your broth you're going to add your cornstarch, okay, And you're going to stir this in. Stir it in until the cornstarch dissolves. Like that there. Okay guys, so here are our pork chops. We rinsed them off, so now we're going to season them. And I'm going to add my celery salt first. Okay. And I want them to be well seasoned, so yeah, that's the celery salt. We're going to add our onion powder. And I just season one side and then rub it onto both sides. Okay. Here is our garlic. Okay, so garlic. Here's our paprikas. I'm gonna give it a beautiful color. And again, for the full recipe with all the detailed instructions, cooking time, and measurements, visit my website, PhillyJCooking.com. Okay, here is our parsley flakes. And last but not least, we're going to add some black pepper. Okay. We're going to massage all of these seasonings in on both sides. Massage it in really well. Alright guys, and those are your well-seasoned pork chops, and they look well-seasoned, don't they? I seasoned those bad boys to a T, and you can tell that they are going to be extremely flavorful, because us Philly folks, we like our food to have flavor, so we make sure that we season it not too much, but very well. Let's move over to the stove now. Okay guys, so we're going to be cooking our pork chops over medium-high heat. If you have a dialer on your stove, place it on about a 7, okay? That's about medium-high. And I use this instead of oil because I like the flavor that it gives the pork chops. Once that melts, you're going to add your onions. Going to caramelize them. About a minute or two. Now we're going to add our pork chops. And we're going to brown them for a little while. Okay. All right, so we're gonna turn our pork chops over and let them brown on the other side. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add our celery. And look at the color. Because we browned it and also we seasoned it with paprika, we didn't need to add like any gravy master or anything to darken the gravy. Look at that, some beautiful color. Don't gotta add a thing. Right, so just let this go for about 20 to 25 minutes. You can cover it with a lid. You want them to get real tender. And you're just gonna cook this until the gravy cooks down a little more, all right? And that's pretty much it. So I'll get back to you guys once our pork chops are all done, okay? And actually, I think I'm going to cook it on medium heat, not low medium, okay? I'm gonna cook it on medium heat. Get back with you when it's done. Okay guys, so our pork chops are done, and the way that I make my pork chops when I'm making it this way is I always cut the pork chops off once the gravy cooks down. So you should be left with a very thin gravy. Okay, so we're gonna cut the fire off now because they are done, and we're gonna get ready to plate them. This recipe is really good with like egg noodles or rice, okay? But I'm getting ready to grub, and I'm gonna rub these down with some hot sauce. All right, guys, and here are our pork chops. These are, guys, you gotta try this recipe. These are amazing. Making it this way, I don't know what's my favorite way to make pork chops. Smothered fried pork chops or making it this way, but these are definitely my two favorite ways to make it. And I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. I always tell you guys to follow my recipes to a T. Do not deviate from what I tell you to do because it may not come out the same. But yeah, man, these are amazing. These are really, really amazing. Bone sucking good. Sucking on the bones and everything. You're so darn good. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. Like I said, follow it to a T for best results. And tell me how it is for you. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. Amazing. These are the best. The best pork chops on YouTube. Don't nobody make pork chops like Philly Boy J. I don't care who you get to make them for you. They are not going to be as good as Philly Boy J pork chops. Let me tell you. They are not. You gotta make these pork chops, guys. You got to. And make it the way I tell you to make it. You want the world's best pork chops? You want the world's best pork chops? You gotta make them like Philly Boy J. Gotta make them Philly style. Look at this. Look at this. Amazing. And I don't want to do this to you guys, but as you can see, mine are not super tender, but they're thin, so they don't need to be, you know, very tender. Look at this. Oh my God. Look at this. I gotta go, guys. I hope y'all enjoy this. These are delicious. I gotta go, guys. Peace. You do not know what you're missing. Try this recipe.